Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Simone Price. Many of you I know through LA Community Leaders. I run Dolby Laboratories' commitments to education as that ladders up into our social impact strategy. And I'm also the co-host of LA Community Leaders, which is a volunteer-run organization, and so it's comprised of people who run social impact programs throughout LA County and beyond. So really excited to have so many of you in the house. And then also it takes our members like Courtney and friends like Narit to really help pull our networks together and make sure that we are not only educating our members, but making a voice and opportunity for our nonprofit partners and our dedicated social impact partners to really share out about what they're doing so that more people can become partners in this work and really move the needle on it. So I'm so thankful this has become a really awesome hybrid event. It's great to see so many of you in the audience and also so many new faces. The work that we're going to hear about tonight is going to need all of you to have awareness of this, but to work together to really move the needle in terms of who we're hiring and who is doing some really amazing work in the workplace and in the creative ecosystem. So I would love to introduce Narit. I'm like, good? I think so. She's a friend and also our dear host. So thank you so much for hosting us.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Again, my name is Narit. I'm the Executive Director of the Music Forward Foundation. We are 30 years young this year, here to break the barriers of gender, poverty, race, and circumstance into entering music and live. We want this space to be available and accessible to all. And that's why we're here today. So when Simone and the team reached out, I said, no brainer. We want to figure out a way to continue to work in this space. For the past year, we've been working in a juvenile detention facility in Kings County, bringing our resources and our curriculum there and learning so much about how to meet those young people where they are and how to, as they exit, help guide them into a future where they see themselves here and can find a home in music and live. I do believe in the African proverb, you do it alone, do it fast, do it together, go far. And I just have to hit that point again that Simone was saying, we have to do this together, all of us, from introducing, exploring careers and opportunities, preparing folks for this space, and then finding placement, internships, apprenticeships, jobs. And we're all here to do it together. So I can't wait to hear the panel today. I'm really excited to be here with everybody. And without further ado, Ms. Courtney, here, this is your stage.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Courtney, the Chief Engagement Officer of The Last Mile, and I'm so grateful that all of you are here. And thank you, LiveNation and Music Forward, for opening your doors and opening your hearts for such a meaningful conversation. We have a rock star panel, and we have a plot twist. So the plot twist is I was going to be the moderator, but I decided, since I'm often asked what it's like to work with formerly incarcerated individuals, I decided to give up my seat this evening and invite my colleague, my friend, and a returning citizen, Maserati-E, to co-host and moderate the panel. So E, come on up, and you will co-host and moderate with Chris Redlitz, the co-founder of The Last Mile and co-host of TLM Radio.
Thank you, Courtney.
Hey.
E, what's up?
What up?
Well, thank you for joining us tonight. This is a great, amazing group of people who are impact generators, leaders, industry leaders, and we really want to focus, as been said, about sharing, listening, and collaborating. And our focus is fair chance hiring, criminal justice reform, and diversity, equity, inclusion. These are all things that we're very focused on. And E and I have an opportunity to work together. It's a very unlikely partnership, would you not say?
I would say that is definitely the case. Definitely. Sometimes, especially in these spaces, we can make a lot of impact, and sometimes it's unlikely collaborations, just like us. We coming from different backgrounds. I'm from Oakland. Definitely grew up in the hood, just being very transparent. You're from the Silicon Valley. Not to mention different generations. You grew up listening to Elvis, Buddy Holly. Nothing wrong with that. I grew up, listening to Tupac, Lil Wayne, for instance. But
Wait. I know I'm old, but I'm not that old. Okay.
Ain't nothing wrong with Elvis.
No. It's more like Janis Joplin, Rolling Stones. So let's get it a little straight. I love Buddy Holly and Elvis, but
I'm with you.
yeah. So it really is. Working with E and doing TLM radio has been a great experience. And people say, expect, is there going to be a connection there? Are you going to be on opposite sides of this, aisles? And can you collaborate? And we've really found over time, and those of you who have listened to the show, I think our relationship has evolved. And it's really been cool to see, I knew E when he was in San Quentin. And the fact that, fast forward now that we can work together and do something really inspiring is really great. And some of the folks that we've had on the show are here tonight. So Aloe Black.
Shout out
Aloe. Where's Aloe?
Yeah, Aloe right here, my boy.
Ken Oliver. And obviously we've had Jason and Leila on the show. And tomorrow we actually have Hoai Scott, who's going to be on the panel tonight. She's going to join us tomorrow. But I wanted to also shout out to my wife and co-founder of TLM, The Bev.
The Bev.
And that is actually her at The Bev on Twitter. And it's actually at The Boss at home. And those who know us know that's very true. But we had one of those experiences that, as E said, I've been in Silicon Valley for many years and had a venture capital firm, and it's probably the least likely person to start a prison program. But I was invited 13 years ago into San Quentin to do a talk on business and entrepreneurship, and doing it really as a favor to a friend. And I walked out that night realizing that we had to do something, and didn't realize at the time that it would become the life mission for both Beverly and I. So I think part of what we want to sort of talk about tonight is you never know when those serendipitous moments, you never know some of the things that you have resources available to you and a voice that you can leverage that for good. And we certainly live that. Our team is growing. We have over 600 people that have been through the program. We're free now. So yeah.
Yes.
As an example, Molly and Kevin are back there in their Last Mile t-shirts. Molly and Kevin Kelly. So this is, and we'll get to the panel in a minute, but I can't resist here. Molly and Kevin are both graduates of the program. They met when they released. Molly was in Indiana and Kevin was in San Quentin, and they just celebrated their 2-year wedding anniversary.
So one thing we do on the Last Mile Radio, we give flowers. We definitely give flowers. So y'all might hear that a lot. And pretty much what that means is a lot of times, people get their flowers quite literally after they pass away. That's when you hear the good words. That's when you hear the acknowledgments and the credits and things of that nature. So we give people their flowers when you can still smell them. So that's going to be a theme throughout this. So with that, though, definitely got to give everybody here all y'all flowers for being here. Understand, man, presence is really priceless. And what we're doing right now is cultivating something that can be extremely powerful. So I want to give everybody all y'all flowers as well for being here tonight.
So we have a great panel, as Courtney said, and they have, as E says in the show, laying down jewels all the time. There's a little coolness that's come over this way. Not a lot yet, but I'm hoping more comes. But anyway, we have 3 phenomenal people who are making impact for sure, and I want to introduce them and get this thing started. So first, good friend of mine, someone who's been really inspiring to me. He's done this work a lot longer than I have, and he's had tremendous impact. He also came from an unlikely place as a music executive. He discovered artists like Katy Perry and Kid Rock and Lorde, and the list goes on and on. But he's also a board member of the Innocence Project, and he has a podcast network that he'll tell you about, I'm sure. The largest one is called Wrongful Conviction, and he, again, is a great inspiration. Jason Flom, please come on, Jason.
Jason.
I thought it was cute you guys talking about Janis Joplin. Me and Chris are so we met at a Beethoven concert. That's what we Hey, thank you.
Dun 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 dun. And next, by a show of hands, how many people ever heard of Tupac Shakur? We all heard of Tupac? We know Pac, right? So when Pac first came to California at the age of 17, he was fortunate enough to encounter our next person coming up. And they were actually able to cultivate something called the mic sessions in her living room that still goes on today. Right now, 2023, still goes on today. So many lives have been impacted. So many careers have been impacted and cultivated and developed. And I can go on and on and on. She still manages artists to this day, that like Earl Sweatshirt, for instance. I'm sure y'all heard of that name as well. And I want to welcome Leila Steinberg to the stage. That is my momager as well. She's one of them. The wonderful.
Thank you, Leila. As E said, his momager. Definitely, as we said, those that are using their positions to really advance what we're doing, someone who's doing that at scale now, and she's doing it as an SVP of Human Resources at NBC Universal. They've established a relationship with the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. And I think the numbers are 17 interns and six full-time employees so far. And those numbers may be even improved since then. But I want to introduce Hoai Scott. So I think it's always helpful. I gave a little bit about my origin story, and it was really helpful just to sort of position that on where you are today and what you're doing. And you've maybe start out, Jason, because you have a fascinating origin story as well.
Well, do you want to talk about the origin story? You want to talk about today? What do you want to talk about? You just
I
gave
want
me
to talk
two
about-
different sets of instructions.
How you got involved in this particular work.
Oh, I mean, I got involved in this particular work the most random, serendipitous way. One day, I bought the New York Post, which no one should ever buy or read that fucking rag. But the New York Times happened to be sold out, and I was meant to be, because there was a story in that newspaper, it was in 1993, about a kid who was serving 15 to life on a nonviolent first offense cocaine possession charge in a maximum security prison in New York State. And my head exploded. And I said, this is, I had my own issues with substance abuse. I was well aware that, but for the zip code I was born in, the color of my skin, I definitely would have ended up in prison. And so it was like, he was the same age as I was. It was just too many, parallels. And I was like, I got to try to do something about this. And fast forward, I ended up, beginner's luck being what it is. I ended up 6 months later sitting in a courtroom holding his mother's hand when the pro bono attorney that I got involved, I knew him because he represented two of my artists, Skid Row and Stone Temple Pilots, and they were getting busted weekly. So I had this guy on speed dial. And he said it was hopeless, but he argued back and forth, and then the judge banged the gavel down and sent this kid home, and I was like, holy shit, I have a superpower. Like, I didn't think I had one, but I have one, and this is it. And that high was the best high I'd ever had, so I was like, I think I'm going to go do more of that. And I haven't stopped to this day. And, just this week, I was here with my partner, Kalia Ali, and we had a couple of great phone calls, a couple of breakthroughs on cases we're working on. So, it's just, it's addictive.
And your daughter just launched a new podcast.
Correct. Thank you for that. You kind of see why Chris is who he is. You know what I mean?
The guy.
His fucking brain is coded in there, Yes, I'm very proud to say my daughter, who has been teaching in prison since she was a teenager, she's now 29, and she uncovered the incredible true story of the first murder trial in American history and made a podcast out of it. And it's amazing. It's called Erased. Some of you already followed it because I literally grabbed people's phones and put it on. Raise your hands. I'm proud of you. Those of you who haven't, get your phone right now because I promised her I'd get everybody here to follow it. It's called Erased: The Murder of Elma Sands. And the defense team in this trial was Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr, and they pulled every dirty fucking trick that there is in order to get their guilty client off the hook, because he had money and power and she had nothing. So she was forgotten from history till now. And this podcast is going to make her name known. So yeah, Erased. I see a few people with their phones out. Come on, don't be shy. Get your phone out. Hey, we got another one in the back. We got a winner. We got a winner. So yeah, I'm really. It's really a powerful podcast, and it informs how we got to this place in our system, which is so broken now, because it all started right then and there.
I know your story. It's very compelling, but share it, please.
Sure, thank you. Hi, everybody. I work in human resources for the film company of NBCU, and we started doing this work after George Floyd's murder, and we wanted to really think about, as a film company, what could we do to serve the community, and how could we demonstrate our commitment to DEI. And so we had already started a partnership with the Anti-Recidivism Coalition in 2018. And we thought, what better way to do this work and to demonstrate our authenticity with regard to caring about people who are different than us, especially people from marginalized communities. And so we started talking about maybe we could amplify the ARC's work. And to be honest, it was not welcomed right away to be able to consider, a new kind of employee population. And there were concerns about whether it would be safe for our employees if we brought people in because of the stigma and stereotypes that exist. Would there be security issues? Would we stop at a certain offense? What are the things, all the things that come up for people when in our society says that people who are formerly incarcerated are dangerous and forever guilty and threatening and unworthy of our compassion. And so because we are a film company, we thought, we tell stories. And so we could help change the narrative. And so that's how we got started. And when people questioned whether it was a good idea, essentially what I did was I leveraged storytelling, and I told the stories of our interns and our employees and their backgrounds and how much they had to overcome in order to be with us, and also the ripple effect of giving somebody a chance and what that means not only for them but all the community around them, and then for our employees, how to serve. It's actually become a very strong part of our culture, is to serve and to impact social justice. And I think many of us at a media company never imagined that we could do that. And so not only is it great for our ARC members and their lives, but also for our employees as well.
Thank you for sharing that.
Leila.
Hi. Okay, how did I get here to the work? That's the question.
Well, a lot of people identify you from your music orientation, but I know that you really look at yourself and consider yourself an educator first. And many people don't realize how much you've given back and how much time you've spent with incarcerated populations especially. So I think that's the most important part that we wanted to focus on.
So I was born in 1961 in South Central, and I would say my entire life has been working through my identity challenge. I was very identity challenged as a child in this city, grew up in Black neighborhood. My mom came from Mexico at 9, and my father was a juvenile offender in this city who had a different outcome than all of his friends. And he eventually became a judge. And my entire elementary years were having a father who was a public defender who brought all of his clients home, brought me to court all the time in my childhood, and I would see one Black child after another Black child after a brown child convicted, and white kids had private attorneys. So I had an early awareness of race and inequity. And so by the time I I was an adult. And music is where we found humanity. It's where we could have a conversation. It's where I found a sense of that it didn't matter that I didn't understand who I was or where I came from or the borders I sat on or the bridges I couldn't mend. But I had some great mentors who helped me understand the power of art. And my first stage was with an all-Nigerian band. I got to go on the road with this incredible band. I thought I was really talented, but I found out that I was really necessary to navigate promoters, hotel rooms, car rentals, because I was with 14 Nigerians in a really rough time who were on the ground working to end apartheid. And I got to have this education that really helped me understand what we can do when we mobilize artists to change policy, procedure, and systemic issues. And then I did meet Tupac, who joined this writing group that I facilitated in my living room when I wasn't touring. I have to run from here to class tonight. But at that time, since I was still touring, a lot of our early time promoting hip hop was on Nigerian time. It was while we were touring, we were flyering every city, and people don't know how incredibly important Ojeka Mode and Hugh Masekela and all these African artists were to the early promotion of hip hop. Fast forward, I was doing assemblies and all this work, and I got a call from a man named Lonnie Morris in San Quentin. And he said, I heard you have these great assemblies. Can you do one in San Quentin? And I brought a group of rap artists. We did an assembly in 1990. And he pulled me to the side and he said, yeah, you don't understand the power of the music you work in. You're privileged, you're entitled, and you are marketing music that's destroying Black families and destroying my people. And I challenge you to come into San Quentin and start listening and working with us. And I had done programs in juvenile hall, and I thanked Lonnie for the challenge, and I began to go in 1990. What year are we in now? I didn't stop until COVID. And then I was invited by Professor Armour 15 years ago to participate in a class he taught at USC, Race, Stereotypes, and the Rule of Law. And I've been there ever since, co-teaching. And my dad could never understand, since I didn't finish school and become the lawyer or whatever I was supposed to be, how I teach lawyers. But law, art, justice are my passion. I have grown grandkids, and anytime someone asks me to show up, whatever I can share, I'm here. I'm gonna do the work till I drop. Thank you for having me.
Incredible. So I say all the time, I believe in divine design. I don't believe in coincidence in the least bit. Chris, I know you believe in, your belief is more serendipitous moments. However, whatever the journey may be, this is an incredible journey. And I'm so glad that it's all led to this moment here, because here we are, right? Now that we get, yeah, that's right, give us a hand. That's right. Show some love. But with that, and understanding how we got to this point, I want to start off with Jason, man. Your journey has been incredible, you know what I mean? And you developed such a very successful network of podcasts. So I want to know, man, how has that impacted your work with the Innocence Project? Can you share why it's been important to really highlight these stories and what that outcome has looked like?
Yeah, I've had the privilege of working to help free countless innocent people, as well as many people who were guilty but were over-sentenced, because in this country we have this obsession with sentencing people to 1,800 years, 2,000 years. Like, literally, these are sentences that exist in this country. And the innocent people, I've also been, well, let me back up. I'd say that I've been deeply connected to the cause of reentry and trying to help build ramps instead of walls. We as a society build walls outside the prison walls. And you hear guys talking about they come out, and women, they come out, and it's just a bigger prison because everything's blocked off. That's why the work that Chris does and the Last Mile and ARC is so critically important. And so I got to know countless exonerees. And I'm like, these are the most incredible people that you ever can meet. And we have some of them in the room here. Jerome, I'm talking to you. Jarrett over here. Both of whom are shining examples of the potential that exists among this population. And I thought if we can create, this is back in 2016, if I can create a podcast where we can tell these stories in the words of the people who actually lived these nightmares, then not only can we give meaning to the suffering, but more importantly, we can help to shine a light on cases of people who are still trapped in the system, right? And we've helped to free about a dozen people just from the attention that we brought from the podcast. But also, we can educate the public so we can create a better pool of jurors and help to prevent these wrongful convictions from happening in the first place. And now with 70 plus million downloads, listens, streams, whatever you want to call it, it's a certainty that there are cases we'll never hear about because somebody today probably was in a jury room in a criminal trial somewhere in America and went, nope. I'm not falling for this bullshit. The prosecutor, I could see they're lying. I could see this cop is compromised. I could see this expert is lying through their teeth or doesn't know what they're talking about. This eyewitness, like single eyewitness cases, all these things. And so that's why I started it. And it's gone to a place I never could have dreamed of. In fact, there are 3 states where we've had legislators cite the podcast as the reason why they proposed bills that were signed into law that have made the system a little fairer and better in Illinois, Indiana, and Washington State. So, it's a really humbling experience. I consider so many of the people I've gotten to know family. What can you say about people? And again, Jerome and Jared and others that are here are shining examples of this. People who went to hell through no fault of their own, survived it somehow, a decade or 23 years like Jerome did in prison, and came out carrying buckets of water for the people they left behind. In fact, to this very day, Jared is working right now. In fact, he couldn't come out to dinner last night because he's working on a case in Virginia where he's representing Terrence and Ferrone, who were sentenced to life after being found innocent. And I know, yeah, you can look it up. It's the craziest fucking case. They were found innocent and the judge sentenced them to life using this obscure legal trick, if you want to call it, called relevant conduct. And these are guys who did nothing wrong whatsoever, but they've been in for about a quarter century. And if anyone will get them out, you will. So talk to Jared if you may have something to offer afterwards, and anybody who's here, get involved. Terrence and Ferrone, it's nuts. And so, but that's America, the freest, bestest country in the world.
Yeah, you mentioned certainly their wherewithal to get through that. And I think there's sometimes a misconception. And I know when we first started this, and frankly, when some of the first guys got out of San Quentin, which was the first location that we were in, we're across the country today, but I asked a few of my CEO friends, just give them a chance, right? What happened was that they said, it was almost counterintuitive, saying, they're some of the most dedicated, loyal employees that we've ever had. And this idea of becoming disruptive turned around and becoming such an additive. And that's why I wanted to ask you, Hoai, because this is something that you've experienced, and you're now teaching other companies how to do what you've done, because what you've done is very difficult, but now the momentum is starting. So can you talk a little bit about that and how you're training other companies?
Yes, absolutely. So we often talk about how we're trying to create equity. And so it's different from equality, right? Equality is giving everybody the same thing, but equity is giving the person what they need in order to get the same outcome. And so equity is, we really can't mass produce it because you have to customize it for the person. And so every person, every individual gets an experience with us where they not only get to join our organization, but we own their success. So we want to make sure that they get feedback, that they're coached, that they are joining us for careers. And so because you can't mass produce that, the way we scale is that we're teaching other companies. And so we joined the Second Chance Business Coalition last year. We also went to Columbia University to speak about the work, and we're partnering with JP Morgan and Eaton, two of the co-founders of the Second Chance Business Coalition. But one of the things that we learned is that you really need to have managers that are willing to be flexible, who are willing to train on the basics, that are willing to really go out of their way to own that person's success. And because of the experiences that we had, what we try to do is to debrief after every internship period. And we learn the mistakes that we made and how we can get better. And we learned about how language is so important and how we do not want to use dehumanizing language. We don't use inmate or felon or ex-con. And we use language like system impacted, formerly incarcerated, returning citizen. And that brings the humanity back to the work. But we also, we had a candidate who was being interviewed, and she was asked to tell her story. And what we learned is that can be re-traumatizing. And so we taught our leaders on how to interview, right? How to ask questions that are relevant to the job and to let the person tell their story if they're comfortable. We also learned about, when we talk about language, there are terms that we use in our normal vernacular, things like take a stab at it, give it a shot. And if you are a victim of violence, that is very triggering. And so we had to teach our managers. So we created a toolkit for our managers so that they would learn how to welcome people. And one of my favorite quotes is from a DreamWorks intern. And this person said, when I joined the company, because of my background, because I'm formerly incarcerated, and because I've exposed tattoos on my neck and face, I thought I would be treated differently, like an outcast. But when I joined the company, it was the exact opposite. And I was made to feel welcome. I was made to feel like I belonged. And I used to think that I'd never make it in life because of my past. But now I know it's the choices I make today for a better future. And the possibilities are endless. And so that's what we're trying to teach, is to help people imagine new possibilities. And we're teaching our leaders on how to welcome people and onboard them. And even the tools that they create for our ARC actually can be used for the employee population, because there's all these acronyms that we use in the film business. And we learned, this is the way to onboard somebody, not just an ARC person, is to tell them about the language and the acronyms and how you act in a meeting. And so all of that work is kind of the ripple effect of what we're doing. But like I said, the real work is scaling and really helping other companies change the narrative, onboard people correctly, and own their success.
Definitely. Thank you for that. Absolutely. To kind of piggyback on that a little bit too, I believe I can speak on behalf of practically any returned citizen firsthand when it relates to just that hunger to want to get in the work field, right? But one of the ways that I feel that companies can benefit from that hunger, you will have, in my opinion, one of the most dedicated, one of the most loyalist people you can possibly have on your team. When you've been deprived of the opportunity to provide for yourself for so long based on being deprived of freedom because you're in the confines of the belly of the beast, when you see somebody or encounter a person that believes in you and empowers you in a position to where they got to trust you to fulfill a role, that's appreciated beyond any type of thing you can measure logically, right? Like it becomes visceral at that point. It's a state of emotion beyond logic, that level of appreciation. And with that, the actions follow. I can think of countless people that got afforded so many opportunities, and they still thrive to this day in several different work fields, for sure, because that hunger. Like I recall times when I was incarcerated and, talking to people, and literally we fantasized about working and having the opportunity to be able to provide for our families and step into that role of a leader in our households and things like that. So just to give a little context, to the type of people that step into these positions coming from that experience, it's not taken lightly in the least bit. And that hunger really fuels the actions that follow that. And I think it's very evident, when you come into proximity with that. And speaking of that work, right?
Wait, I just want to say something. Because as of today, E is not only the co-host of The Last Mile Radio, but he's just joined our partnership team as a full-time employee of TLM.
This is real. This is true. Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt.
I'm telling you, we hungry. But not only are we hungry, we're capable. And I think that's something else that needs to be understood, right? Not only are we hungry, we're capable. And with that capability comes the willingness to learn something new and really put that effort forward to master what it is, whatever it may be, right? Because I think a lot of times people feel like the ones behind the walls are incapable. What's sensationalized as stupidity, not intelligent people. What's sensationalized as lazy people. For some reason, people think that we're behind those walls just twirling our thumbs, making knives on the yard. It's like it's a lot of people really putting in work to really understand themselves, to understand how they got to that position to go to prison in the first place. But with that understanding then comes solutions on how to evolve from that to not repeat it. And that's the type of work that we putting in. And speaking of that type of work, I know, Leila, you could definitely attest to that, because this is a woman that was inside the belly of the beast, helping people process that. So could you kind of speak towards, some of the things that you've seen in your experience on how people benefited from that work that was put in behind those walls?
So in what I came to understand in my work specifically is 35 years ago, there was no category in education for social emotional learning. Most of us are emotionally illiterate, racially, culturally, socially. We don't do the work to understand one another and to build empathy. So my time with Puck, I was working on a curriculum, and we didn't have the language for emotional literacy, so I was like, I'm doing heart work. We use art to affect the heart. The mind follows the heart. You could take people anywhere. And so Puck would write and say, every song I give you is curriculum. You don't even need curriculum. I'm giving it to you. And so that was my formative years, and I do have a curriculum now, and I'm training people in it. And over the last few years, I've begun to go into corporate spaces with the curriculum and spaces I never thought I'd be in, because I focus mostly in juvenile halls and prisons and in classrooms. And now I'm really looking at how collectively we can do things differently, but also economic models. So I've never gotten grants. I don't go out for money from the government, and I had to figure out a way to afford to do the work, because I was spending my own money for years doing it. And then the artists that I manage began to make commitments. So Earl Sweatshirt, some of you know him, some of you don't. Earl, under the radar, adds $1 to every tour ticket sale and gives it to the organization. He came through, he did the work with me, and now he helps fund it. And a number of other artists that I've worked with do that. And so I really see the possibility of changing the way we fund and give support and do the work, and especially those of us who work with artists and work in a business where we iconize and idolize artists and athletes. Who goes to artists and athletes to understand morality or principles or law? US, in this country, we pedestal artists and athletes, so we have to hold them accountable and get them to come help us do the work. It's important, it's necessary, and they're willing to. And when I met E inside of San Quentin, the minute I heard him, I knew he could change the generation with his lyrics and his heart. He's a really important voice. I was blessed to work with you. Thank you guys for including me, always calling on me. I appreciate it. And so, yeah, I do know that artists help us process our feelings and begin to help us to have analysis and to think critically. And as we do that, then we begin to look at how we fund the shifting of our failing systems. And it's global, and we're in trouble, and we're in a time where we've never been so emotionally illiterate, and people have lost their ability to know what real empathy is. So that's the work for me, and hopefully my contribution. So thank you, guys.
Thank you for that.
Thank you
for that. I mean, this is all about a conversation starter and really for us to collaborate. So with that in mind, we wanted to open up for a few questions before we have some parting thoughts. Anybody have comment, question that they'd like to pose to anyone on the panel?
Chris, I just want to say one more thing before we do that. It's okay. We can't talk about, Senate, are you here? Where's Senate? Did he just walk out? Oh, I was about to shout somebody out. I think here. So I don't think we can talk about criminal justice reform without talking about police reform.
Okay.
And we have a
Let's talk about it.
We have a next generation civil rights hero in the making here with us, and that's Senate Devermont right over there wearing the t-shirt.
Big facts.
That says, always film the police. I encourage people to talk to him afterwards and learn about the work that he's doing, because it's incredible, very, very courageous. And I want to actually put a question out there for a specific person in the audience, because if you need to know how important this work is, you don't need to look further than Jerome Dixon. And Jerome, would you mind just sharing a little bit about your story? I'm going to just turn it right over to you.
I wasn't expecting this one, but thank you all for having me. Thank the panels for being here. My name is Jerome Dixon, and I spent 21 and a half years in prison for a crime I did not do. At the age of 17, a murder occurred, and the police brought me to the crime scene and said, young man, you have a lot of explaining to do about that dead body. From there, they took me to the police station, and I was held in police custody for 25 hours without my parents being notified about where I was at. And in the 25th hour, I cracked. I didn't know what else to do. And so I told them what they wanted to hear. My confession alone was used against me. I wind up being sentenced to the California Youth Authority for 6 years for first-degree murder, 3 counts of robbery, and assault with a deadly weapon. 6 months into that sentence, I was brought back to court, tried as an adult, at which point I was told to choose my form of cancer, which was either to plead to a lesser charge from first degree to second degree and receive the sentence of 18 years to life, or go to trial in which I would lose based on my confession, and I would receive the maximum sentence of 50 years to life in prison. My public defender was telling me one thing, and they were telling my parents something else. And at the end of that ordeal, I wind up receiving an 18-year life sentence. Fast forward, in my 21st year, I appeared before the parole board 6 times. At my last hearing, I explained to the parole board how a 17-year-old kid who was forced to make an adult decision. At that point, I was a 38-year-old man fighting for my life. After I explained to them how I was put in that ordeal, the commissioning panel went to recess. Upon their return, they said, Mr. Dixon, we're sorry it took us 21 years for us to realize you're in here for something you didn't do. October 17th, I walked out of prison. My second day home, I walked into a law firm. They gave me an internship they gave me an internship. If I would have known that I would have been coming up here, I would have turned my phone off. Fast forward, I met a wonderful man by the name of Scott Budnick. He heard about my story. He asked if I wanted to go to Sacramento, tell lawmakers about my story. I said, absolutely. And then I became the poster child for the juvenile Miranda right bill that Governor Jerry Brown signed into law protecting children 16 years and under the Miranda right rule. And Elizabeth Calvin. But we thought that 16 was not the appropriate age, so we went back to the state capitol and asked them to amend that bill under Governor Gavin Newsom. He agreed and signed that one into law protecting children 18 years and under. Now I am on a national push to get the bill federalized so that it applies in every single state and not just in California. I think it's important that we accept this truth. I am not a unicorn. I'm not the only one that this has happened to. There's many, many young people out there that deserve a fair shot at justice. And I don't want to take too much of time, but I really appreciate you all hearing my story. Thank you, Jason. Jason has been my mainstay from day one. I owe him another hike. And so again, thank you all for having me.
Oh, thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you, man. Seriously, thank you.
We definitely got a call to action there. I would like to just go to you for, as we close, a call to action that you can really relate to this great group of people.
Yeah, I think for the employers out there, is this on? Yeah, okay. For the employers out there, we really need to move beyond the stigma and stereotypes. And they are dehumanizing and they are not true. And so we have 3 of our interns who have been converted to full-time employees here. And they are the role models and examples of changing the narrative of we have people who are humble and hardworking and adaptable and learners and contributors, people you want to hire.
Leila?
I'm available. So my name at Gmail, you want a workshop, you want to collaborate on something, you want me to help you convince people you're working with to engage and get on board. Last Mile's here. I'm Aim for the Heart. You guys know them. I'm always ready to show up. So thank you.
Thank you.
Do you mind if I just shout out our three? We have Hong and Brian and Julio here, who are shining examples. Thank you.
Last word, Jason?
No, I just appreciate you putting this together and Courtney and the whole team. And, I'm so honored to be up here with you all. And, just open your hearts, your minds, your HR departments. And let's build these ramps instead of these walls. And then, and if anybody's interested in learning more about the podcast or getting your company involved, sponsoring, please talk to me or reach out through Chris, Courtney. They all have my information. And thanks. Let's work together on this. We can do it.
Yeah. Before we move to our next treat, we had Danielle Ponder on the show on Saturday, and you should listen. It's a plug.
The Last Mile Radio on
Last
Sirius
Mile.
XM.
But
Great show, by the way.
she went from being a attorney and a public defender. Now she's a touring artist. And one of the things she said, and this is really talking about using the art of storytelling, she said, I really look at my opening statement as a hook in my music, and I want that to be what people remember. And I thought that was really telling because she's doing so much work. She's crossing the lines back and forth and really powerful, and she's an example of great storytelling. But with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Courtney.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. This has been, this is just the tip of the iceberg, I feel like. You are all doing such impressive work, and like we started it off, it takes every single part of the pipeline to really make change in this space and move the needle and really change our workplaces and the content that we're consuming and the experiences we have with one another and how we're experiencing our communities. So thank you again for coming out tonight. We really appreciate you all.
And then another plot twist. I know it was important for Narit and Music Forward to close the evening with some music because we are at LiveNation. So I want to invite Eric to bring us out with one song.
Yo, test. So fun fact, I could explain this while they're setting it up, but not so fun at all in actuality. This is like quite literally my guitar from prison. San Quentin has a guitar program where they like lend them out, if we will. You get these lenders. And when I left, I was fortunate enough for them to allow me to keep this one. They was like the impact that I made on the community there, as well as my overall vision and mission through music, they believed in. And the coordinator there allowed me to keep it. She was like, I believe in you. This is yours now. Don't worry about it. So with that, we can go ahead and get into it. All right. This is a song called Same Page. It's more so like a call to action, if we will, right? Hopefully y'all moved by it enough to get on the same page. No lie. And I just want to change the world forever. No lie, I want to bring the world together, yeah. And I admit I'm kinda selfish, cause I wanna be the reason. Not for the recognition, I recognize what we need. Now I don't wanna fall, trying to spring change like the seasons. Consequences disrupting the system, but I ain't retreating. Optimistic, thinking it's a fight worth leading. I bleed the blood of a leader, I die for what I believe in. I'm just saying it's real, and I encourage you to do more than just say what you feel. Let's take a stand as a man, not former slaves in the field. And let's build each other up instead of stuck and just destroying everything that we build. Why people gotta get killed before we recognize their greatness? Why we gotta get locked in cages to start exercising patience? No lie, let's start making changes. Let's start making rearrangements to our list of priorities, cause majority on different pages. I just wanna change the world forever. No lie, I wanna bring the world together, yeah. But everybody wanna live fast and die young. But fast money gone just as fast that it come. If we could get on the same page, yeah, we could really create changes. Can we get on the same page, yeah? Can we get on the same page? No lie, yeah, yeah. Sometimes I feel like I'm unplugged and settled in the matrix. Watch a lack of understanding create fear and develop hatred. We all at different stages, different mental spaces. One thing that make us the same is we all human, embrace it. I was laced up by some sages. One told me the goal is to lead this world the way we came in and be just like a baby. Cause all a baby know is love until it's taught to hate. And it don't matter about your class, your gender, or your race. The energy you emanate could be the difference between you getting lemons or lemonade. Either way, when you get a taste of the ways of the universe, mistakes get brought to light to rectify and recognize all the ways that you can learn. Sometimes the process hurts, but we gotta process pain. Cause hurt people think it's time for change. We need to heal from trauma, we need restoration. Money can't solve all our problems, but fulfill them reparations if we ain't on different pages. That'll be a breath of fresh air like respiration. No lie, yeah, yeah. Please feel me, oh, and I just wanna change the world forever. No lie, I wanna bring the world together, yeah. But everybody wanna live fast and die young. But fast money gone just as fast that it come. If we could get on the same page, yeah, we could really create changes. Can we get on the same page, yeah? Can we get on the same page? No lie, yeah, yeah. Can we get on the same page? Thank y'all, thank y'all.